everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to do my April wrap up. I was hoping that I was going to get to another book this month that I didn't have on my TBR. I did start it, but unfortunately I only got maybe halfway through it. So anyway, today I am happy to say that my most ambitious TBR yet I actually completed with time to spare and started another book, but that book will roll over to May, so definitely catch the video after this one that'll be coming up probably Monday or Tuesday, which will be the 1st or 2nd. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of announcements that are going to be happening. I am starting a Patreon. I want to get a book club going probably around the August time frame. So if you are signed up on Patreon, you can follow along with me. You can also, you know, pick what books I read each month. There's a whole lot of things that I want to do to interact with you, get to know you guys better. You guys get to know me better, and we just suggest books and everything. So definitely be looking for that announcement in the next video whenever I do my May TBR. So let's start out with all the books that I read in April. So I had kind of an up and down month. I had quite a bit of books that didn't quite meet my expectations or anything like that. They were kind of some letdowns, but some of them I did have a couple 5-star reads. So one of them actually really shocked me. So the first book that we're going to talk about is, oh, my stack is going to fall, is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Now, this book is an unconventional romance, which means that there's not going to be a necessarily happily ever after or any resolution for that matter. I know that there are 4 books in the series so far. The first one is Magnolia Parks. The second one is Daisy Hates. I think the third one goes back to Magnolia. And then the fourth one goes to Daisy. So I don't know if I'm going to continue on with this. So this book was rather interesting. You're following Magnolia and BJ Ballantyne. Now they were like high school sweethearts. They were together for years, and you know, BJ betrays her in kind of a horrible way. And you know, so they split up, but they remained friends, and BJ still, you know, like slept in her bed, but they weren't doing anything. And like throughout this whole book, you are seeing them do these terrible, terrible things to each other, where Magnolia will go and date other guys and, you know, throw it kind of like in BJ's face, where BJ will go and sleep with other women to hurt Magnolia. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, at some point it's so toxic that, you know, they need to stop. And throughout this whole book, you have the cast of characters, the side characters like BJ's friends and Magnolia's friends that are wrapped up in this whole mess. And, you know, throughout this, I know people have been saying that it's like Gossip Girl in London. I've never really been a Gossip Girl fan, so I can't really say if that is accurate of a representation. But what I can say is definitely don't read this book if you have any trigger warnings. There is cheating in here. There is toxic relationships. There is mafia type things that happen. So definitely go in with some caution, and definitely go in knowing that this is not going to be a happily ever after. It's going to be very toxic. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. You are going to hate and love the characters at the same time. So I gave this a 3-star. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I don't think that it was anything where I was like, I can't wait to read the next book and continue this series. I don't know if I'm going to continue it or not. I may see how Daisy Hates goes and see if I want to go back to Magnolia. I just had a hard time with Magnolia. She really kind of got on my nerves. So we'll see, but definitely a 3-star. It was worth it. I think there will be a lot of people out there that if you like the Gossip Girl aspect, if you like, you know, toxic and, you know, just crazy relationships and unconventional romances and just a whirlwind of drama, you would definitely love this. So pick it up if you would like to. The next one is is a really good book. I didn't give it 5 stars like I had previous books in this series, but it was still good. And that is Loath to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. This is a bind up of 3 novellas that she had came out with. The 3 novellas are Under One Roof, Stuck with You, and Below Zero. So the first novella, I can't remember the characters' names, but there's 3 friends, and that's why there's 3 novellas. And the first one is Under One Roof, where she inherits her college professor's house after she passes away. Come to find out, the professor's nephew is living there, so they have to learn how to live together as roommates, and she is trying to be nice about it. He hates the idea and the aspect of it, so he's just being nothing but like not really cruel, but like not welcoming at all. But you get to watch their relationship kind of unfold, where it goes from like an enemies to lovers type of situation. The next one was Stuck with You, which follows the second friend, and they're stuck on an elevator together, and apparently they had a past, like that was a recent past, where they met up, they had a great night together, and then all of a sudden he betrays her. She's upset about it, and so now they're stuck in this elevator where they have to, talk about it, and things unfold that way. And of course, it's kind of like a miscommunication trope in that one. And then Below Zero follows the third and final friend who, ends up going to NASA and being a part of this project where, she's there with this guy who kind of like snubbed her and really wasn't, kind of nice to her or whatever. Now she's on this project with him. She ends up volunteering for a project because she's trying to make these, like drones or robots or whatever that were going to go to Mars, be able to sustain in any type of environment. So she's in the Arctic Circle. She gets, trapped below this like ice cave, and he's coming to rescue her. And like you hear about how everything unfolds. It's kind of like in the past and present, type of situation. So it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I absolutely love Ali Hazelwood since Love Hypothesis and then Love on the Brain. I can't wait for Love Theoretically to come out, but I'm really happy I read these 3 novellas because even though they weren't the absolute greatest from Ali Hazelwood, I feel like it, kind of went on par with what she has been writing, and it definitely fits into the STEM romance series that she has going on. So I really, really liked that. So pick up Loath to Love You. It is a contemporary romance. It is really good. There are spicy scenes in here. If you love Ali Hazelwood's work, if you love, just learning about characters and different types of tropes throughout these, you'll definitely love this bind up. It really wasn't terrible. I think both or all 3 novellas are between like 120, 140 pages, so not terrible. So quick read, definitely love it. I would definitely suggest picking that up. The next one was a reread for me, and I'm really, really happy that I did reread it because it was my first 5-star of the month, and that is An Enchantment of Thorns by Helena Rookwood and Elm Vince. Now, I read this back in November. If you watched my video where I read 20 Kindle Unlimited books to tell you which ones were worth it and which ones weren't. I read so many books during that time that there were so many that fell flat, so many DNFs, so many terrible, terrible books that I had totally forgot some gems like this one. So this one you are following Aster. She is a green witch, and she is supposed to keep the town around her healthy, producing like medicine and all of that, but also keeping the folkwood from entering their town, which is around, the border of their town, and it's in the wooded area, and that's where the Fae live. And so she's trying to keep the Fae out and also keep her town healthy. Well, every year they have this tithe where one girl is chosen from the town to go back with the Fae prince to, basically no one knows what happens. No one ever hears from the women again. So they think it's a death sentence. So she's trying to keep her sister from it. So she, of course, jumps in front of her sister and is taken back to the palace. What I really loved about this is, of course, it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So you definitely have a lot of aspects from that fairy tale woven into here. But what I really loved is Aster is very strong and stubborn and very smart. And so she's taking in her surroundings. She's making some friends. She's interacting with the beast. And things end up not being what she thought. And so there was a big twist that happens in this book. I absolutely loved the characters. I loved the romance in here. I don't feel like it was rushed. I feel like there was a very good pacing in here. Absolutely loved this book. Of course, I love Beauty and the Beast, but this one really took my heart because I've read a lot of fae romances that all seem about the same. And this one, of course, has some correlating, aspects to other fae romances. This one had a different type of trope and a different type of storytelling. I absolutely loved it. So definitely it's on Kindle Unlimited. Go pick it up. It's An Enchantment of Thorns. There is 3 books, I think, currently in the series. I will be continuing on with this one, so I cannot wait to get to that. The next one was the biggest shocker of all. So I am, if you watched my video at the beginning of the year, I am trying to read through my TBR that is physically here with me to try to clear out some books that maybe I don't really fancy or that I didn't really like. Try to clear some space on there so I can start getting some more books that I will enjoy and that I will, be gravitated to pick up. And this book came in a book box. It came from the Illumicrate Afterlight exclusive box, and it's a book that I would have never picked up on my own. 100%. But it is X's and O's by Amy Lee. This book is a rom-com, and it was very, very good. You are following, what is her name? Tara. And Tara ends up moving in with her soon-to-be brother-in-law's best friend because she swaps apartments because she's living with her sister. And, of course, her sister wants her fiance to move in with her, so she moves in with his best friend and roommate. And so she's having to try to figure out how to, do life like that because she is a booktuber and a blogger on Instagram. And so you're following her whenever she does her updates and her different, blogs and different things like that. But Trevor is a firefighter and he is really, really hot. And the first day that she comes in, she finds him having sex with somebody in the kitchen, and so she just runs to the bathroom and hides. And of course, at that point, Trevor, comes to try to talk to her through the door, and their relationship kind of goes from there. They become like best friends, and she leans on him for different things, and she starts doing a blog where she goes to date all of her ex-boyfriends to try to rekindle a second chance romance, which is what her grandmother had with her, not her grandfather, but her later husband that she had. So she wants to create that, right? She wants to have a second chance romance. So she is, confiding in Trevor. Trevor's giving her pointers, and, she's going to date her ex-boyfriends. And this was such an absolute delight to read. I could not stop. I was laughing throughout the whole thing. It was so believable. I love both of their characters. The romance was just absolutely on par. I gave this 5 stars. It came out of nowhere. If you really like contemporary romances and romantic comedies, pick this up. It is a stellar read. You're going to laugh the whole time. I am not disappointed at all. Then the next book that I read, I'm going to put it up here because I did have a physical copy. You did see me put it in my April TBR. However, I spilled coffee all over it. It got completely ruined. I can't talk today. And so I ended up having to throw it away and finish it on my Kindle. But that is The Knights of Rosalind by J.L. Bowman. This book was not it at all. You are following our main female character, Rosalind, who is just graduated from, I think, Cambridge or, some type of, college, or Oxford maybe, in England. And she comes back to California, and, her and her father have always done like research like on the Knights Templar and the Grail. And so she's coming up with this paper on how the Grail may not actually be a physical object, but actually a bloodline. And anyway, she has, her father has an assistant who she's supposed to be catching up with over the summer. Her father leaves to go do some like lectures and stuff. And as we're going along, she's sick and she keeps having these spells and doesn't understand what's going on. And things go from there. It did not make sense. The plot lines, there were so many holes. Like at one minute she would be saying something like, I can't stand this guy, and then like a paragraph later she's like forgiving him or so in love with him. And this book was all over the place. The editing was absolutely horrific. It definitely needed to go through like 5 more edits. It needed to go through like a plot developer who would actually help that author fill in a lot of plot holes, because you'd be reading and it would be like, how did we get here? I don't understand what's going on. There is a second book out. I will not be continuing. This was a struggle to get through. It is about the Holy Grail. It is about the Knights Templar. It has a lot of aspects to it that I thought that I would love, and I was so excited for it, but it was nothing but a letdown. I did give it a 2-star, only because there were parts in the book that I was very intrigued on whenever they talked about the Grail or the history, or, kind of like their, conspiracy theory about how it was, a bloodline and all of this. So it was good, kind of, but the story was an absolute mess. Editing was an absolute mess. Just not enjoyable at all. So you may end up liking it. It is on Kindle Unlimited if you want to go read it. But definitely just know going in that it is a very confusing read, and there's a lot of editing problems in it, but you may actually find it enjoyable. The next one was another reread for me, because my husband had bought me the first book and I wanted to finish off the series, and that's Emboldened by Siri James and Ryan James. They are a mother and son. The first book is called Forbidden, which in my previous video back in September, I did have my husband pick out 2 books that I had to read that week, and the first book, Forbidden, was the one that I read. And so I wanted to continue Alec and Claire's story. However, as much as I really loved Forbidden, this book fell very flat for me. I gave it a 2-star. It did wrap up a lot of the plot holes and the storylines they were going on, but it was all over the place. It, didn't really flow very well. I feel like they tried to cram too much into this book because they didn't want to write a third one. So I enjoyed it. It is a YA paranormal romance. She is 16 years old, so definitely take that for what it's worth. This is not a spicy book. There is romance in here. The romance is believable, and I really, loved the 2 characters, Alec and Claire, being in love and stuff. But the first book was so good. I felt like it flowed very nicely. I felt like the story really made sense. I felt like, what they were trying to achieve from it was great. I just feel like this one did not hold up to it. So I'm happy that I finished it. I'm happy they're not coming out with any more books as of right now. I would continue reading only because I want more of Alec and Claire, but the world around it and the other cast of characters I could do without. So I'm happy that I finished it. It is a 2-star. I definitely highly recommend going to read Forbidden. It is a YA paranormal romance. It was really, really good. But the second book really kind of fell flat. You could finish the first book and be done. Like, you would be very satisfied with how the story ends in there. There really isn't a huge cliffhanger at all. This one, you could kind of do without. So the next one that I read was kind of a semi letdown. I liked it, but then I didn't. So it is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This is a Peter Pan retelling, but it's coming from Captain Hook, basically. And his name is James. And he is kind of like a mob boss type of thing. They're running, a drug called pixie dust. And Wendy is the daughter of Peter, and his wife and her mother had passed away a while back, and she's been taking care of her younger brother John, and Peter is always gone. She never knows where he's at. He's never a father figure since her mother passed away. Every time that she talks to her father, his assistant Tina Bell is always with them. And so she ends up having a relationship with James, aka Hook. And, come to find out, he wants revenge on Peter. And so, he ends up thinking that if he takes Wendy and makes her fall in love with him, that it's going to, just kill Peter. Anyway, the story took a very dark turn, very like BDSM kidnapping. So there are a lot of trigger warnings for this. It took me a while to get into this book, probably 60 to 65% of the book. The first part of it, I really wasn't into it. I was like, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling the characters. I'm not feeling any attachment. And then somewhere around the 65% mark, it just all clicked for me, and I couldn't fly through it fast enough. And the twist at the end and the revelations you find out and how everything comes together really shocked me. I am still on the fence if I'm going to continue on with the next book in the series, which is called Scarred, which I believe is a Lion King retelling. I really enjoyed this. Again, like I said, check trigger warnings because it does take a very dark turn. It is very spicy. It definitely was on par with, who you would think Captain Hook is as an adult version rather than a kid version. So I kind of enjoyed myself. I gave it a 3-star. I think I wanted more out of the story, but I think it was okay. It wasn't a whole letdown. So a 3-star. I enjoyed it, but it could have been better in a lot of aspects. And then finally, the last book that I read, and I wish that I never did read it, but thankfully it's only like 260 pages or less than that, and that is called Of Snow and Roses by T.M. Franklin. This book is a wild mess, I will say that. So you're following Neve, and Neve is in this psychiatric ward. And whenever you meet her, she's waking up from having an amnesic episode. And so the doctor is asking her, does she remember anything or whatever? And so she's taking these medications. She's told that she has delusions and such. She's having these visions that she can interact with somebody. And so the doctor tells her, we're going to up your medication, stop the delusions. There is a guy, what's his name, Torben, who doesn't talk, but he seems angry with her at first. And like I said, this all takes place like in a psychiatric ward, like an insane asylum. And, it does say on here, is she a powerful witch or is it all in her head? So, she starts getting memories. She starts, thinking, like things don't seem what they are. She stops taking her medications and everything, and things become more clear for her. She does, at first Torben seems mad at her and like hates her. And then as things go on, they end up combining forces and then unraveling this mystery. And it was just a whole jumbled mess. I didn't understand half of what was going on. I don't feel like this book really was worth the read. I gave it a 2-star because some parts of it were kind of enjoyable. But overall, I hated this book. And so if you want to read it, just know going in that you're in this insane asylum and you're following her as she's unraveling these mysteries and different things like that. And I don't understand where this was going. Apparently it's a series. It's called Magically Ever After, book 1. So I don't even know what the second book is about, because as it ended, it was wrapped up. So I don't know if like maybe it's like standalones in this series or what. I'm definitely not continuing. But at least I gave it a shot. It is a beautiful copy, but definitely not for me. So those are the books that I read in April. And I have another one, that got destroyed. Like I said, overall, there were a couple books in here that were very enjoyable. I found a couple 5-star reads, but for the most part, if I look at my whole month of April, there were so many letdown books that, kind of put me in a little bit of a book slump. So I'm very hopeful for May, and I hope that, I get a little bit more enjoyable books out of it. We'll see how it goes. But definitely comment below. Let me know if there are any books in here that you have read, or, any of the books that I have on here that you may end up going to try. Definitely make sure that you like the video. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Like I said, look out for my May TBR video, because there are announcements on there for what I'm going to do with Patreon. And definitely, look out for the link on that. But until next time, everyone, I hope you have a great day. Bye.